sa sunod mo, ano, luway.
Recording. Okay. Yan, recording started na ulit.
Sige, sige.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to have a focus group discussion about an interesting topic. How does the youth today show their confidence and interest in using their mother tongue? But first, what comes to your mind when you hear the word mother tongue?
Uh, for me, when I hear the word mother tongue, I think of my native language, which is Filipino, and it is the first language I learned.
Just like what Angela said, uh, mother tongue, the first language that we that we that we spoke of. It is the first language that we learned and became our first bridge to communicate with others.
Okay.
Well, for me, mother tongue is the first form of language we learn, and with that, it makes us able to speak and learn how to communicate.
Okay, for me, mother tongue is our first language that is the language that we learn since we were born. And I think it is mostly influenced by our surroundings as we grow up. And it is different to the language that we learn at school and as we grow as an adult.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the mother tongue is that this language, this is the language that a person has grown to. Kinalakhan na lengguwahe simula pagkabata. No matter what the person's nationality is, mother tongue is out of this context. Best example I can give is the Filipinos born in USA, and of course some parents still use Filipino as their first language inside their homes. But we can't ignore the fact that there are also families that chooses English to teach their children. It's like our tongue is our newborn selves and our mother is the language that is first taught to us by our parents or family.
Okay.
Well, for me, it is the use of the mother tongue is about preserving one's ethnic identity and culture. Well, that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear mother tongue.
Okay, guys. So, have you guys read the poem entitled To My Fellow Youth, which was written by Rizal?
Yes, but this is not the first time I've read this poem. I think I've read this, the Tagalog version from way back in grade school as a requirement during Buwan ng Wika. I still remember this because of the line, "Whoever knows not how to love his native tongue is worse than any best or evil smelling fish." I think this stuck to me, this line, because of how powerful it was written. Uh, and I've heard that this poem was written by Rizal when he was still a child.
So, just like
Mm,
Angelo, it struck me the most also with that line. And when we translate it in Tagalog, it means ang hindi magmahal sa sariling wika ay higit pa sa hayop at malansang isda, which is a very famous line for us Filipinos.
moreover, poem talks about the love we should have for our language. Poem clearly said that our mother tongue is a gift from God that we should always cherish and upheld.
Yes, I have read it, but there are historians who confirm that Rizal was not the one who wrote the poem because it started with the use of the word kalayaan at least two times in the said poem. It was said in the letter of Rizal to his brother Pasiano that he only knew the word Kilayaan from Marcelo H. del Pilar when he was 25 years old. But the poem was said to be written by Rizal at his 8 years of age. But let's take that fact aside because in the poem, two lines that is greatly known by men in the Philippines, just like what Ronald said. ang hindi magmahal sa kanyang salita, mahigit sa hayop at malansang isda. And I think that this sentence will not be erased in every Filipino's mind as long as educational institutions continue to teach or to show this poem to them.
Well, this is the first time that I've read the poem, and I could agree to the last part of it, as it said that it was lost by furious waves were overthrown like bangkas in the stormy sea. So I would say that it is the the time where Spaniards and the Chinese and other what do you call it? Other other country colonialize our the Philippines.
Okay, guys. So, next question, guys. Do you think the youth still value their language?
In my opinion, I think the youth still value the language they are brought up with. However, not all Filipinos' first language is Filipino. I think some Filipinos started teaching their children English rather than Filipino. I could definitely see their reasoning. I mean, some jobs require you to be proficient in English and all, and starting them early could certainly help. However, I think language is a significant part of our culture and heritage, and I think they could appreciate Filipino culture more if their first language is Filipino or any native language of the Philippines.
Yes,
It
I
is
agree with Angelo. Yes, I agree with Angelo that youths nowadays still cherish the language that they grew up with, especially when communicating with the mother tongue, because it leads to better understanding which is with one another. But some youths, especially in the Philippines, often use the universal language, which is English, and mostly mixing it with our mother tongue, which form a new language for us, and we call it as Konyo. Well, Konyo is prominent among youth in upper class, and now considering it as a stereotype, which leads an individual the loss of confidence to communicate.
For me, there are a lot of influences that can affect our native language. For instance, is when we study other languages in school. Since majority of us, I think, speaks Filipino, uh, we all learned English since we were grade schools, and now most college universities require us to speak in English. And also, we are immersed to foreign media, for instance, K-dramas. Most of the youth watch such media, which also widens their knowledge about Korean language. But despite those reasons, I think that does not mean that uh, the youth doesn't value their native language. Uh, for me, when I play games, I usually get cued with Pinoys, and we speak in Filipino, even though majority of the players speak in English. I think we only resort to using other language when the one we are speaking with does not understand what our native language is.
Of course, I do think that the youth still value their language. Let's just focus in our country. When we talk to children, what language do they use to interact with us? Filipino, right? Kuya or ate, and sometimes uses po and opo as a sign of respect of them towards. When we hear kids playing outside, they still use the Filipino language that was brought up with them. The only thing that I noticed about the youth of today in valuing or using the Filipino language is the use of curse words as an expression. It is commonly used on a daily basis, and this is where our elders are concerned the most. Although it is part of the Filipino language, it does not degrade the language, but I think by the next generation, these curse words will be part of their sentences already, which is, I really think this is very concerning. So there's that. Yes, I think the youth still value their language.
well, it is also yes for me because despite the influence of many languages, we can see and hear Filipinos speak of our language in any place in the world. It is our way of showing our Filipino pride and nationalism that even the younger generation of our kind still values.
Well, I could agree to all of you that are the youth still um value our language, and which is we still like speak in our mother tongue first. The, when we're talking to each other, what concerns me the most is when the next generation is well used to speaking in English, especially my younger sisters. They are used to speaking in English and they cannot understand any Tagalog, and which could affect the next generation and maybe the like like the the shed the shed or the depth ed will decide that our Filipino subject is not any important if they notice that the next generation isn't really inclined to speaking it anymore.
Okay, that's it, guys. That's all for now. Thank you for your participation on our discussion. I hope we all learned something from everyone's opinion. Good day again.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.